So just to introduce for a couple of minutes, this is the last in the virtual of the MCC tasting series. I'm Dan Kane, representing Enotria and the Great Wine Company. Just so people know that this tasting is being recorded, so others can participate at a later date and at their own leisure. Please use the chat feature on this webinar. We really want to test Patricia this evening. I will pick up as many questions as possible. The content and the different areas are really, really interesting. So please, please use that feature. Otherwise, I will just ask all my questions. We are going to get straight into the questions that we have throughout this evening. So we're going to go straight away with question one, please, Emma, before we go on to Patricia. So, what is the only wine region in Sicily with DOCG status? What DOCG means is the highest designation of quality in relation to Italian wine. So the options up there are Etna, Gerasolo di Vittoria, and Menfi. So quite a hard question, but we will be coming on to different regions shortly. So a good one to impress wine friends. So we'll go through the answers shortly, but it now gives me great pleasure to introduce Patricia Toth, head winemaker at Planeta. She probably does more miles traveling around Sicily in a year than most of us do in a lifetime. So Patricia, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell our viewers a little bit about Planeta and a little bit about the different locations that you work in around the island.
Thank you, Dan, for the presentation, and good evening, everybody. And thank you for welcoming me to the club for this evening. It's a real honor. Well, Planeta is a family winery. They kicked off this project in the mid-80s with the first plantations, and in '95 with the first labels in Menfi, in Agrigento, on the southern side of the island, close to right under Palermo. But if you meet them, then you will understand why then the project grew and became very very vibrant in the next 20 years. They started a kind of viticultural trip around the island, a journey. So after the first successes and the first memorable vintages, which, as Alessio, one of the owners, remembers always, was very cool vintages. So they could come out very surprising wines as a Chardonnay, which is one of our flagship labels. These successes gave them the energy and I think the courage to go out from this area where they had the lands, the family, and they went to Vittoria and to Noto because of the peculiarity of the soils in that area there, and because the viticulture was a little bit abandoned in those areas. They wanted to start projects to save a bit of certain varieties or certain denominations. The moment when I joined them in 2005, I'm more the traveling winemaker of them, the driving winemaker, as you said. And one of my colleagues is staying here, so we are not just one head, we are more heads. But we kicked off these new smaller projects in the very well-defined areas. After Noto and Vittoria, we went up to Mount Etna also, and then we pronounced the property. I pronounced that was the last project of ours. Sorry, these crickets are just joining us for a moment, but I can just give me 1 second. I can switch them off. I can't.
It's very authentic.
This is the I will tell you later. This is the chiller which went to a crisis, but it will come out soon.
We should have a map to put on the screen, Emma. If we could have the map, which just shows the viewers the different wine regions that Planeta covers. You should be seeing it as well, Pat.
Exactly. So this is where we are now. After the Etna, we said we won't have any more wineries, and then we went up to the northeastern corner of the island, to also, which is an extreme spot on the island. We have a very small vineyard there from a quite forgotten denomination called Mamertino. Okay, these are the 5 wineries we are working on today. All of them are independent from each other, so we are making from the plantation till the bottled wine. We're making on site, and I think because of the mosaic being of this island, we are really having super various positions and possibilities for production.
Fantastic. And is the terrain very diverse and very different in the different areas?
Well, just to tell you an example between Noto and Vittoria, it's only 70 kilometers by car, and it's a red, fluorescent red sea sediment sand, and then you go to Noto and it's white chalky soil with a very fine porous size. And then you go up to the Etna and it's black ashes and sands, also very loosely structured. And then you go down to Tapangas and you have a super deep riverbed origin soil. If you just add together these soil conditions with the climate, which is very diverse on the different sides of the island, it's the infinite possibility of terroirs.
Right. And do you have a particular favorite area, or you like the diversity of your job and going to the different
vineyards? Can anybody confess about the favorite child? Is it politically correct, or?
I don't know.
No, I think the real specialty of the project of the family is this diversity. Okay. Yeah. Yes, the moment.
And then personally, sort of what's been your greatest challenge with Planeta? Is it the challenge? Is it the environment and the weather is quite stable? But what's the most challenging aspect of your job?
To keep up with the energy of the owners and to realize everything what their creativity is bringing to their mind. And just give me 1 second, sorry.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. Now we know that I can kill a chiller with a good movement. Sorry, everybody, for that noise. I think it's better without the noise. There's the classic of the live coverages when something gets broken. And
we've had a question. What inspired you to go into the wine business in the first place?
I wanted to be a veterinarian, as most of the winemakers. And then I wanted to do research on virology, and from virology, then I arrived to microbiology, and then from there to fermentation. So then I've learned about wine, beers, and spirits. That's my background. And then I came to Sicily for 6 months for one project to set up the Noto project in 2005. But it was, if I count well, it was 15 years ago, so something went wrong, and I'm still here. And the big challenge, I think, was really this, well, so it was not a challenge, it was a huge amount of energy, what I have received from this team here. And every year I postponed to go back to Hungary, where I'm from. And every year I'm postponing because this variety of different terroirs and the possibility of having a huge pool of local varieties is something extremely exciting. It's something what, as a winemaker, as a technician, it's really hard to say, no, it's enough, thank you.
That makes sense. We will shortly go on to wine one, but if we can just flash the first question on the screen, please, Emma. So we've got 57% saying that the Mount Etna and the winemaking region of Etna is the only region in Sicily with DOCG status. It's followed by a close second on Cerasolo, which is 43%. Those of you that said Cerasolo are correct. I can see why you might pick Etna due to the publicity around making wine on that volcano that we'll talk about later, but hopefully you remember that one. So we've got a little video on the first wine, or both wines, La Segreta, and where it comes from. So if we could show that now, please, Emma, and then if we grab the wine, we can talk about it afterwards.
Well, unluckily, it's not us. But
There we go.
So this map here, if I can speak,
Yeah, please.
because I don't hear the music. So this map, which you find on the label, is the original estate. That's where the family starts from. That is a place close to where I am now. It has been surrounded by a bush, which was a very thick bush. It was to help to preserve the animals of travelers who stopped there for the night. That was called La Segreta, which means a hiding place, a secret place. That's where from our wines, our entry wines, but also our visit card, I would say, our main blends are taking their name, La Segreta. In this small video, we wanted to show the elements of this label here. This is a century-old olive plantation. These were two small rivers, which nowadays are blocked by a dig, and that's creating Lago Arancio, which was the first artificial lake in Sicily with the aim of getting better in agriculture. But it's also an important surface of water, which is creating a microclimate. We are speaking about being around 270 meters above sea level inland. And with this water surface, we always have a good ventilation and quite chilly evenings, which here on the island are important, obviously, to be able to produce fresh white grapes. In case of the Segreta Bianco, we are speaking about a blend which is always based at least on 50% of Grecanico. Grecanico is a local variety which is strongly related, if some of you know, the Greco di Tufo and Garganega also, so that's the family which this variety genetically belongs to. And it has arrived with the Greeks through Sicily, then to the continental part of Italy. That's what we know today about the genetical mapping. It's quite a serious variety, quite a linear, I would say, a very the serious friend you can count on always.
Patricia, just a second. You can try and slow down a tiny bit because the connection is a little bit wobbly from your end. So it seems when you speak a tiny bit slower, it comes across a little bit clearer. So I think it's the connection, but try your best just to go as slow as possible, just because it's coming across a little bit up and down.
Okay, so sorry for that. It seems that we have a good sign, but you know, till the sign goes out from Sicily to the space and then goes back to the UK, maybe something is getting lost in the middle.
I know.
I'm very, very happy that somebody is asking me to speak slower, because Sicilians are always complaining that I'm very slow for them.
Okay. Fantastic.
So what I said, that the blend is Grecanico, and then which is a more serious, more linear white variety. It has a great capacity of bottle aging, but maybe alone it would be more difficult to understand, more difficult to bring the Mediterranean island. So that's why we are blending it together, the Chardonnay, Bianco, and Viognier, which are bringing a bit of a fruitiness, a bit of a more spicy note, and a good vibration. I think in case of these wines, our aim is always to have a good balance between fresh enough that we would like to have another glass, and which is really refreshing you and staying on the crispy side. But we want to be also enough rich and Mediterranean as the site is, and as the nature of the grapes which are maturing here are.
Yeah, fantastic. And what food would you put this wine with? Because it's got that freshness, and you've got some amazing produce in Sicily. What's your favourite dish to have this
well,
wine
you know, since you had the chance to visit us, you know that we have the sea quite close. So obviously, we have to point on a lot of seafood. Our restaurants here have the habit of having an incredible choice of appetizers made of any kind of seafood, any kind of being who have been fished from the sea. And also there are very good vegetables, super tasty vegetables. So also, for example, with zucchini fried with then with the addition of mint, all these more white cold foods, I think would work very well. But also, like I'm thinking about a more from your cuisine, also a pea soup, a green pea soup, and with the mint too. In that case, I think it would be lovely. But
yeah, it's got lovely aromatics. Is that all the grape varieties sort of harmoniously bringing something to the wine, or is there a dominant? Is the Enotria&Co dominant in terms of the?
No, I think in case of the white, it's less a dominancy than a very good combination and a very good complex of those. Then maybe on the red, then later we will discover more dominant variety. But in this case, I think they're really hugging each other together and completing both the nose and both the mouth feeling them.
Yeah.
As I told you, Chardonnay, I think, is bringing a bit of a fruitiness. Viognier is a more floral note. Fiano is really bringing the Mediterranean summer notes. Also, the herbs which are getting dried by this time of the year. And when you're walking, you are crushing a bit of an oregano and a bit of thyme together with other dried herbs. And that's why I find Latin as a note. But I think the 17 was a very sunny vintage for us, and I think it gives a really round shaped and complete nose. And thanks to what we've learned in the last 20 years on the process of the vineyards, it still keeps a very linear and a very nice acidity. So for me, it's a really interesting combination. Very important wine for us. It's all produced. All the grapes are produced by us. You know, it's not always like this, but we have quite a big surface of a vineyard, so we can do. We can observe which vineyards are predicted to give the grapes for this type of wine, and we do the green management in a way to give more freshness in this case. For some more serious, full-bodied white wines, we do a different green management. We do a different work in the vineyard to have more concentration, to have more weight. In this case, what we are trying to work on is to keep this balance between being very Sicilian in the nose and being quite fresh in the mouth.
Yeah. It's tasting fantastic. Lovely long length as well. Fantastic. So we'll just move on to the second question of this evening, coming onto our red wine as well. So if we could flash it onto the screen, please, Emma. What is the most widely planted and celebrated red grape of Sicily? So the options there are Frappato, Nera Mascalese, or Nera d'Avola. So hopefully you can get that right. Give it a go, and we'll talk about them shortly. So just moving on to the red wine. Patricia, got the La Segreta Rosso.
Segreta Rosso, which is also in this case, we have one variety, which is obligatory always the majority of this blend. The blend can maybe sometimes change a few percentages between the years, but what is very important is that the Nero has to be the base for it. 50%, and then some. It's being accompanied by some French varieties. But just to lose a few words on the Nero d'Avola, it is really the flagship variety on the island. I'm not helping the question, but I can't.
I thought that might happen.
It is 16% of the whole viticultural surface of the island, which is Nero d'Avola. And for me, working with this variety for 15 years now, what is coming out is that it has an incredible capability to adapt itself to the terroir. As I told you, there are very, very different terroirs, from the red sand to the white powdery soil. The only place on the island where there is no Nero d'Avola is up on the Etna, because of one quality of this grape, that close to the harvest, the skin of it gets quite sensible. So with the humidity up on the Etna, it wouldn't go well. But that's the only spot where it's not blended. Otherwise, from Marsa up to Capomilano, you can find Nero d'Avola, and they have very different expressions. So for me, it's a bit like a Chardonnay or the Pinot, about which we know that it's extremely diverse in the different places where it gets produced, and it has great sensibility of expressing the terroirs where it gets produced. Then for me has the same quality. It's very vibrant, violetish, after 8-ish on the western side. It's very deep, smooth, exotic, spicy on the eastern side, super fruity and super energetic in the area of the DOCG of the Cerasuolo, and very velvety, so more thick, more mineral on the northern side of Capomilano, just to give you a few examples. So it has an incredible versatility being produced around. For us, it's really the king of the grapes. In this case, as you asked before about this, about the wine which is driving the nose of the Segreta Bianco, in case of the Segreta Rosso, I think it's clearly Nero d'Avola driven, which makes me very happy, because in the first years when the plantation was younger, you know, the varieties were a bit fighting with each other in the blend. And when in the diverse moments of the bottle aging, you could always find a different character in the nose. But I think now for a few years, the Nero d'Avola has found its central, serious being and expression, and makes me really happy when I find, because for me it's really bringing the island itself. Also, if then the Syrah and the Merlot are giving a bit of a spice and a bit of a body, a very nice and gentle body from the Merlot, a bit of a spiciness or more vibrancy from the Syrah. Cabernet Franc is you know, is giving the base. It's just 5%, but it's giving a more serious note to it, which makes it a very versatile wine from also by the glass for an aperitivo, but up to also a serious barbecue event. I think it can work well.
Yeah, it's very soft with very fine tannins, which
Nero d'Avola, yeah, sorry.
Which a lot of people enjoy in the UK market. That softness.
You know, this was the UK market was the first who really opened up all around the globe towards Nero d'Avola and towards also the Cerasuolo, the Noto area. While in other parts it was really difficult to explain the lack of the very evident tannins. From the UK, we always had a lot of courage and support of producing these wines, which is really, really important for bringing them back to the winemaking. Nero has a lot of grape tannins, but they are already quite soft and round shaped right after the alcoholic fermentation. So they don't really need a lot of oak, and they definitely do not need new oak.
Yeah.
We are actually avoiding the use of any new oak on Nero d'Avolas generally, because it would just hide a bit the special being of this variety.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And yeah, very versatile, which I think, and it's so approachable, which I think why it does well in the UK and lots of other markets. So just moving on from the La Segreta Rosso, so I'd like to spend some time just talking about a few of the different regions. Could we have the results for question number 2, please, Emma?
Well,
so yeah, 100% Nero d'Avola, well done. But just remember the other 2 great varieties as well. They are fantastic, either on their own or within blends. But Nero d'Avola, 100% full house, which is great. So we're just going to put question number 3 on the screen, and then we'll be talking quite a lot about it shortly. So Mount Etna. It is a wine producing area. So the question is, at how many feet is the main wine producing zone on Mount Etna? So how many feet in elevation? 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, or 3,500 feet? So rather than Googling, please give that a go, and we'll be talking about it now. Ready? So I wanted to spend some time on Mount Etna in terms of it's a very fashionable place at the moment to grow wine. And my serious wine question is, how does the volcanic terroir on Mount Etna influence the grape selection, the winemaking techniques, and the yields? So that's the serious bit. And then the less serious bit is, how cool is it to make wine on a volcano? So if you can wrap them together.
No, I can tell you that for the second one, the answer that it's always a blackjack to produce in an active volcano. Yeah. And I strongly recommend to anybody who's coming to visit us and the milady, how we call her, Ida, the volcano. We always recommend to say hello to her in the morning, ask how she's feeling to avoid any conflict, because she can get quite moody in certain moments. The more serious part is about the viticulture. It is, first of all, it's to mention that it is a very traditional viticulture up on the Mount Etna. For centuries, it was covered totally with vineyards. If you just think about the fact that nowadays the hectares are between around 3,000 to 3,500 hectares. With all the Cania area, it was around 53,000 hectares by the time. Obviously, plants have everything there to produce in a rich way. They have any kind of minerals which are available there, though in a powdery form. So they need also the rain to pick up those elements. The soil itself, it's super nourishing, super delicious for grapes, but it's also it can become risky a little bit in dry years because there isn't the hydric balance in it is up and down, being a very loosey and big pieces of sand. It means that the rain is just draining down directly from the sand. There is no moments are existing of fungo, of mold, because it dries out in one moment. It gives a very good push to the aromatic expression of the grapes. It gives a very floral, very fertile, very expressed aromaticity to the grapes. It can give some sleepless nights, obviously, to the farmers. In fact, traditionally, the grapes on the Etna were picked very early to avoid the critical meteorological periods. Generally, they've been using quite high yielded varieties, which nowadays are being discovered also as premium high quality grapes. So it's all kind of like under construction to be back as a premium winemaking site. Really exciting. But just to touch back to the first question, to become a DOCG, I think a bit of a time yet is needed, because the renaissance of the premium winemaking on the Etna is only like 20 years. The first great small producers came out with the first bottled wines, except 2-3 producers who always kept on bottling, like Benanti and Barone di Villagrande. But then the new wave, the main wave of the winemaking, is coming out from the early 2000s. So it's still quite young, and I think there is a lot of work to be done. From another point of view, the winemaking is being characterized not just by the soils and the ashes, but also of being on a mountain. Okay, I often say that it's one thing to be on a volcano, but what we have to consider from an agricultural point of view is being on a mountain, which can bring faster changes in the meteorological conditions. It can bring some hails. It can bring bigger thermic exchanges between day and night, which is very good. That's very positive. You know, I'll just tell you one example. We went up for the first time in 2009 to sample our grapes from the new vineyard. And I brought down the samples to Memphis, and I did it together with some Grecanio samples. And the values were opposite. When the sugar was 18 on the Grecanio and 10 was the acidity. On the Etna, 10 was the sugar and 18 the acidity. And my colleagues were like, maybe you mixed up the results. And then we discovered that no, we did not. We are harvesting in the area of Memphis, just to say, and we are not in a low part. We are between 270 and 500 meters above sea level in fresh spots. But we are harvesting here from the 15th of August up to the first days of October. On the Etna, we start in the first days of October, and we are harvesting up to the 1st of November.
Wow.
When every other winemaker is already out of the office and on holiday and having, you know, all the aesthetic cures, and you're still pushing grapes into the cellar on the Etna. So that's also part of the game when you are having 5 different estates on the island.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the yields on Mount Etna, is it quite low yielding in terms of the grape varieties?
No, the varieties themselves are quite high yields, but then obviously the conditions will affect that a bit. Both the Nerello Macrel and both the Caricanda are quite generous varieties for their own nature. But then you always have to see, you know, people are asking us which is the best spot on the Etna, which is the best contrada, or which is the best. What we always say is that the best spot on the Etna is to have at least 6-7 spots. Because then if you have a hill, if you have a microstorm, if you have any condition like that and you lose something, you still have the others. So the yields are quite high, but the conditions are also a bit more extreme. So in the end, you always waiting on the harvest, on closing the door after the last berry entered to the cellar to say how the production was.
Yeah.
But
yeah. One of the questions we've had is, do you take any extra precautions on the mountain?
Yeah, we run fast when we see that.
You practice your sprinting.
Oh, well, to tell you that the thing which is affecting us the most are the ash.
Ash cloud.
Ash clouds, exactly, which is when you see it, that will sound a little bit Monty Pythonish, but the ash in reality is a small stone, which means that, but it's a super light small stone full of air. Okay, so it's really depending on the wind where it will deposit. But when it deposits, that will change a little bit the conditions of the soil itself. It's sliding down from the leaves. It's usually not hitting anything badly. So that's not a real danger. It's a bit of a danger for other colleagues who are having, for example, horticultural spots for decoration plants, because this ash is slightly warm when it arrives down, and that can leave a spot on the leaves of the plants. Horticulture is not really a danger. In longer terms, it can change a bit the pH of the soil, so we can count on that based on which kind of magma came out and which kind of ash composition came out, that will affect a bit the composition of your soils, but that's not a danger. For the eruptions and for the lava which is coming down, what we can say is that where the viticulture is on the Etna, it's around, well, I don't say of which elevation, but it's in that elevation, which is the right answer. The circumference of the volcano is around 270 kilometers. Now, an eruption is usually between, the slide of the lava is between 200 and 500 meters maybe, okay? So you have a very good chance that you won't be in the way of the lava, first of all. Second, the volcano is really high, so there is a long way what the lava has to pass to arrive down to the places where villages and vineyards are. So possibly it's getting cool. And third, obviously, all the activities like agriculture and like where the villages are built on spots which have been observed as safe spots, maybe because they are in the right under a valley which can be still filled up with the lava, or anyhow in the popular observation people have seen that there have been no effect by lava at that time. Doesn't mean that no eruptions are risky, but the Etna is a volcano which is having the Stromboli type of activity, which means that it's always active. It has usually 10, 15, 20 small eruptions in a year, and it's decharging. And that's the important. The geologists are starting to be worried when she's silent, like some husbands, but
yeah. Fantastic. That's incredibly interesting. Can we have the answer, Emma, to the question number 3, please, in terms of the amount of feet that the wine producing zone exists? So the majority went for 2,000 feet, which is 63%. I have it at 3,500 feet, which a few of you answered. Is that correct? Because it differs a little bit. Would you say 3,500 feet, Pat, is about where you work up to?
No.
No.
I will switch back to the good old metric system.
The metrics. So what would your metric answer be?
The metric answer is that they are mainly between 500 and 1,000 meters.
Yeah. So I think that's correct in feet. Yeah.
So the 1,000 meter is I would say is the main one.
Yeah. So it's high altitude winemaking and risky winemaking. I mean,
it's fun.
It's fun. It's rock and roll, living on the edge.
So rock. Thank you. It's rock. It's all rock.
It's all rock. No roll, just all rock, and then exactly. rolling down the volcano if you need to. Well, thank you so much for this evening, Pat. It's been a pleasure having you on, and thank you for your time. It just leaves it for me to wrap up. This is the last virtual wine tasting, and it's been a real pleasure to host them over the month of July, and very pleased to see that England won the West Indies series, so that's made it even more fun. We'll ask for feedback in due course on where we take these virtual tastings from here. In the right forum, but thank you for watching, and Patricia, thank you for your time, and good luck.
Thanks for everybody, and we have also checked on the results of England, because we were worried about the success of the tasting. So
yes,
happily congratulating
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
From a Hungarian in Italy, which is a different combination of sports.
Which I'm sure.
But
I'm sure that gets quite aggressive, but we're very good at applauding here, as you know. But thank you for your time again, and everyone else at home. Good night, and have a very good evening.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone. Cheers.